Welcome to the AI Business and Innovation Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Halbert. And today we're joined with the wonderful Yarden Segev. She's a media expert, master storyteller, and marketing innovator. She has shaped the global marketing brand landscape from her work at Keshet to NBC and the RGE Group. In this episode, we're diving deep into the art of impactful branding, the power of storytelling in the TikTok era, and what ancient wisdom can teach us about captivating modern audiences. Yarden, thrilled to have you here with us. Let's jump right in.
Thank you so much. Thrilled to be here as well.
Excellent. Well, let's just jump right into things here. I'll line you up with our first question, first topic of the day, which is related to effective branding in a TikTok-based world. So, Yarden, in today's rapidly evolving TikTok-driven media landscape, brands have no time at all to generate content and post it out on their profiles out on the internet. And it seems like in TikTok specifically, the rapid pace is like extremely quick. So maybe there are some core principles that you use to craft like instant, good, authentic, impactful marketing messages that you could share with us.
Of course. Well, first of all, entirely correct. Today, our viewers on TikTok, as well on Instagram with Reels or wherever we get video content on our mobile phones, especially, we have like a fraction of a second in which we're supposed to captivate our viewers. So if I want my viewers not to scroll up so fast, actually get them engaged with some hook. Now, this hook might be creative in the visual elements like well done footage or very raw footage that can draw my curiosity about where is this video going, or some creative hook that starts actually to tell a story. And then I would expect creators to be as much creative as they can in drawing me into a story through a personal angle. I think and many times, like, if we talk to our friends or stuff like that, we say don't take it personally. So when we want to captivate our viewers, we should take it personally. We should actually keep in mind what would make us stay on this or that video, what will make us not scroll up so fast, what will make us engage, comment, leave our like or any kind of emoji in the comments on any content if we feel it resonates with us personally. So whenever I'm going off to make some video on TikTok, either if it's on my personal account or even if it's for brands, I first of all think, would I find this content interesting enough as a viewer? That's as simple as that. So I think creative hooks that captivate our viewers and make them feel connected personally to what they're seeing right now is like the core principle that I would recommend to any creator, marketer, branding expert that wants to keep their viewers with them.
Just kept relating from a trip I took to China, actually back when I was in my MBA program. I recall that we sat with an executive at L'Oreal that was explaining that the pace of the fashion culture in China, it moves so quickly that by the time you've already released something like some kind of hot item, the hype is already just about moved on to the next thing. Some kind of really wild rodeo. Sounds like a wild rodeo ride to me for anybody in marketing there. I see that TikTok is actually a Chinese creation. So I feel like there may be some overlap here in the way that the consumer culture in China is tied to the way that TikTok seems to encourage usage. Do you have any thoughts on that correlation?
First of all, TikTok originally is what was known as Musical.ly, and the application in its origins was aiming mostly for music generated content and like artists or creators releasing all kinds of takes on music and dances on the net. And what happened with TikTok along the years, that it evolved into a platform that delivers content that I think in a significant way is involving sound. TikTok is one of the things that's unique in TikTok is that of all our applications, like our social media applications, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok is the one in which you are probably going to be with sound on. So when you're on TikTok and you want to create content that resonates well, you should be invested in your sound as well. So it's either having good voiceover and telling your story like with good voiceover and good sound quality on your video, or sound effects, working with sounds that are embedded within the TikTok application that are viral, and you can like put on your video and do all kinds of gags. So I think the sound orientation of TikTok is what makes it different and is what makes it stand out these days as well. And also the engagement on TikTok is much better because of that, because when you watch content with your sound on, you mostly do it privately when you're highly concentrated on the platform. It's not something that you would like scroll up and down while you're with friends or with some other engagement that might be preoccupying you, and your devotion to like absorbing in whatever story is told is much more intensive, I find. So
Curious, I'm going to go on a digression for a second. I recently learned that scientists were able to create technology that's able to transfer a certain scent. So it seems like maybe in the next 5 years, it'll be possible to send a message of a smell, of something that you smelled, how you smell, or perfume or something. Can you imagine a social media platform that is oriented on the sense of smell?
actually, I can, and I think it can be groundbreaking for the perfume and scent industry, and also for foodies. Because if you could deliver the very good senses and smells of some restaurant, or the best burger, or the best French fries that you can imagine, and you can deliver the scent, or maybe someday you can deliver some kind of sense of the taste, and that's like blows my mind marketing wise, because if I could market brands like McDonald's, or sweets like cakes and baked goods and stuff like that, and be able to deliver the scent to
Mhm.
my viewers, it's groundbreaking, really. Imagine the experience of like stepping into a bakery when you smell the butter and the croissants and the stuff like that. So if I could deliver the sense of bakeries in Paris to all over the world, amazing.
Wow, that's a fascinating idea. How can we imagine a dating app that is based on smell?
Wow. Do you know Married at First Sight, the TV show? Okay, so Married at First Sight is a TV format that does matchmaking between guys and gals, and they meet for the first time at the altar, or like under the Jewish chuppah. As a part of the matchmaking process, so there's like all kinds of experts that do the matchmaking, and part of the matchmaking is giving the girls to sniff some shirts that the guys wore, and vice versa. And there are all kinds of studies that determine if they can be a good match based on their reaction to smell. So I think scent and dating apps can be groundbreaking as well. I hope for the mostly it will be like a nice experience for both parties.
Yeah, I can imagine they go in different directions. I remember reading a study that the sweat on like t-shirts that were given to women had an impact on the level of attraction that they perceived towards the one that wore the shirt, the one that produced the sweat. So, and they said basically that when it was fresh sweat, that it was attracting, but that after it oxidized, it became like rank, like a bad smell. So obviously it was unattractive. I think that like when I look at the way these applications work, where you're supposed to give different shots of who you are, be an authentic person, and there was an aroma element to it, maybe it would be like important or essentially accepted as a cultural standard to have like one snapshot of how you smell fresh out of the gym and then one how you smell several hours later
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting idea.
as a control.
Yeah.
What do you think about the storytelling that is currently happening on TikTok? What does it look like?
I think that reality created all kinds of templates in which most creators go with. So usually stories longer stories, 45 seconds and more. Stories on TikTok. TikTok allows, I think, around 3 minutes of video today. You can tell quite a lot in 3 minutes, and I get actually on my For You feed quite a lot videos that maximize these 3 minutes and like tell long stories and do it pretty well. And I think the most common template that I see these days is starting with like some kind of an opening sentence that lets me know what I'm going to get to know at the end of the video. Like, you can't believe what I found in my last trip to Target. And now I really want to know what you found on your last trip to Target. And then the story unfolds for like 40, 45 seconds, mostly selfie positioned videos. I see a lot of those. If like Instagram is more of a visual platform, you expect to see more fine crafted videos or pictures on Instagram. So on TikTok, it's like okay to be semi-professional. It's okay to be more raw. And in some way, it's more authentic as well. So if I would like to tell a good story on TikTok, I would start with some opening sentence promising what I'm going to get to know on this video up ahead. Mostly, I would take like some kind of a selfie shot, or I would put my phone so it's like running while I'm chopping up a salad or I'm making dinner or whatever. I think there's one very good example for it. Like if you know Fidan, which is an Australian TikToker. She's a lawyer in her day job, and she started to go on TikTok a few years ago. And I think 1 or 2 months ago, I started to see videos of her making her salad for lunch at work. And every day for like a month or so, she props up her iPhone and she's making her salad for lunch. And while she's cutting up cucumbers and avocado and red peppers and whatever, and she's spicing up the salad and putting her cheese and whatever. And on the go, she's telling of all kinds of law cases that she's dealing with as an attorney. I'm captivated to it. First of all, I really want to know what she's going to put next in her salad because her salads look great. So it's like foodie and law firm content collided, and it's amazing. And she tells very good stories, very interesting, like everything that has to do with courts and conflicts and stuff like that is almost all the time interesting. So I think that's like a good example for very simple but very captivating storytelling. So she's doing something along the video and she's getting my engagement like for the doing that's happening, and she's telling an interesting story. And most of it is like at her desk at work with her iPhone propped up and recording. Sometimes it's that simple.
So let's take it apart for a second here because it's really an interesting case where you have a mixed audience. You have two different interests that are commingling. One of them is foodie, and the other one is like legal cases, generally like interesting law related stuff. And so, what exactly is occurring, and like what's happening from the algorithm angle? Like people that are showing up that are viewing what she's saying, are they like, what are they? Are they showing up from one side or the other? Are they showing up as a mix? Did she come up with the idea of combining just any two things or these specific two because she understood something about the way that it would show up on TikTok.
Actually, on her second salad video, she said that she posted the first one and it gained so many views. So she said, okay, I have to do another one. Something worked. Now, the thing is with the algorithm on TikTok and as well as on Reels on Instagram, it's not so much of like rocket science. It's sometimes almost spontaneous virality that happens with content because you can never know what will catch. And that's why usually when marketers or brands work on content for social media, sometimes it's about trying a lot of things and seeing what works and like not giving up on the way because it can be sometimes like excruciating to do another video and you're stuck on like 20, 30 views and you say, okay, it's me, my mother, and a few of my friends that are looking at my TikToks, but it will work eventually if you're a good storyteller, if you stay yourself and you keep your authenticity. And when it works, then you should be wise enough to duplicate it, like Fidan did. Like if she saw that her first salad video works, so now she's doing a salad video every day, and they're all gaining hundreds of thousands of views. And also, she's Australian, so her time zone is quite different from most of our viewers. Her viewers are more in the States or in the Middle East or Europe or whatever. So, and she's always like, she's some kind of a window to like, down under. I get to know Australia better through her stories. So, and she shares like all kinds of things about her hometown and where she grew up in Australia as well. So it's very interesting content. And I think the thing is when you see that something catches, so duplicate it the best you can. Of course, staying authentic and being aware enough to like lose it when it doesn't work anymore. But usually, if you figured out some kind of a format for content that brings you out well, you should duplicate it. And Fidan is a good example for that.
So, what does the storyteller have to do with the story? Because I see that you're learning about the person, and she comes with a whole profile of qualities that are of interest in different ways. Some of them are directly related to her, and others are things that are in the environment that surrounds her. You learn vis-a-vis that exposure to her life, like for as simple as what kind of produce is available where she lives. What is the freshness? How nice does it look? How does she chop her lettuce? Like there are so many different bits and ways to go about it, right? So I could see that it's like the storyteller matters, right? But then again, I always thought that a really good story didn't really matter where it came from.
That's right. A good story usually will captivate audiences, listeners, viewers. The storyteller has a great deal of it. But I actually have an example for a great story that might have, like, at first hand, seemed to be quite a niche,
Mm-hmm.
but it ended to be a blockbuster. So I can share that if that's okay. Great. A few years ago, aired a true crime series, and I won't use the F word, so I'll say don't F with cats, if you remember. It was a massive hit on Netflix, and the story over there is actually a social media investigation led by a local American community of cat lovers that tried to investigate some video that shows a person abusing cats in a way that's really horrifying. And there's like two niches in this story. First of all, you would think that like cat lovers, okay, many people love cats, but how viral would you expect a story about cats to be? I don't know. I wouldn't expect it to be so viral. And then second of all is the locality. It's like it's a case that happened in the States in quite a suburbia town. So I wouldn't expect it to be so interesting. But then comes in a very, very good storytelling technique with true crime methods that make the story like unfold chapter after chapter after chapter. And I remember watching it. I think it's about 3 or 4 chapters, quite long, each one of them like 60, 70 minutes. And I saw it all in one binge overnight. And then it like went with me the next day. And whoever I met the next day, I told him, you have to see Don't F with Cats on Netflix, because it was so, so, so good storytelling. So I think storytelling is, or the storyteller, the way that we tell the story is very, very important in captivating the audience. A good story can be amazing and good enough, but it will resonate and it will reach broad audiences if it will be told appropriately and at the best way it can, and with a captivating storyteller as well. Because not each person or each man or woman you meet on the street will be a good storyteller. Some of it is like you're born with it. Some of it you can learn along the years and you can practice and you can get better at. Some of it you can get from like all kinds of techniques and tips that you can get, but there's some kind of base of storytelling skills that like you have it or you don't. And I think it's okay, because if you don't have the like core skills of storytelling, which is like it's basic as a good vocabulary and being able to like run in a conversation for as long as you can. That's stuff that not everyone knows how to do properly or enjoys how to do as well. So you have to like have some kind of core skills. And if you have them, you most probably can evolve as a great storyteller if you practice and you get some inspiration and you get good tips and mentors and stuff like that. And from there, the sky's the limit.
So cool. Can you tell us about your process as becoming a master storyteller?
Thank you. Yes, actually, I think I've been a fan of storytelling and like communicating with my peers, my family, like since I remember myself as like adolescent or even a young child. My studies were in Reichman University. I got a BA in communications and new media. That was after I finished my service at the IDF, and I went to studies. During my studies, actually, I tried to gain as much experience as I can in storytelling and also in all practices that the media industry requires. So I was like, for a short while, I was a scouter for TV game shows, which was actually quite a cool job. My job was to go out to parties and all kinds of social gatherings and reach out to people that I think could suit our game show that we were casting at the time, that could be a good cast. I was a researcher for TV shows, for online articles as well. And I mainly tried to gain as much experience in footwork as I can, like in the field, in order to expand my career in the future. My first real job was in a Mako website, which is a major Israeli website. It was actually my golden ticket for my career, I think. Mako website is part of Keshet Media Group, which you mentioned in my introduction in the beginning. Keshet Media Group is the largest media group in Israel, holds Channel 12 in broadcast TV, Mako and N12 in online media assets, and of course, all kinds of business affairs as well. I had a great privilege to work in Keshet for around 8 years in various positions. I was a content editor and a manager and a producer for a while, a TV show editor as well, like doing live shows in the TV control. And my last few years in Keshet were, I think, the most exciting. And then I made the transition to like branding and marketing and taking all my storytelling skills into a new practice. That's actually when I was head of content marketing in Keshet Media Group. My department and my team and I were in charge of integrating content marketing into Keshet's various TV brands and online media assets. So, for instance, if Dancing with the Stars is aired on Channel 12, so we would create a collaboration with some sportswear that the dancers and the celebrities would wear, and we would create some kind of mini advertisement that would be aired in the show to connect between the brand and the product placement that we see in the show. And also, we would always create some kind of content online. So because my experience along the years was online and on offline, or what is known as TV as well. So one of my goals was to make my team and myself always work towards creating marketing initiatives that are online and offline both. So whatever you would see in Dancing with the Stars or Rising Star or Married at First Sight on TV, you would probably find some kind of content marketing that works with that online. And that's the way that our clients or the advertisers that we worked with would maximize their reach, because they would reach massive audiences on TV, and then they would reach some of the same and other audiences as well online. And of course, online platforms enable very good remarketing, and you can get leads and all stuff like that. So that's the vast majority of my career in Keshet. I think overall Keshet was the best media academy that I could participate in and learn in. I gained a lot of experience and knowledge, and got very good mentorship from colleagues, professionals, most talented, interesting, open minded people, which are most friends today, and that's great. After 8 years in Keshet, I wanted to do some other things, and I quit my job for a startup company. I was supposed to launch a startup company a few weeks before October 7. And then October 7 occurred, and the startup company naturally was irrelevant by the economy vision. And we put that aside for a while. And because of that, I got the most exciting opportunity to join NBC. I'm a freelancer contractor for NBC. I'm based in Tel Aviv. NBC News has a bureau in Tel Aviv that covers the Middle East, and I'm part of a team. For the first time in my career, I'm doing a lot of news work, and that's interesting, and I find it very fulfilling and very diverse from what I did in past chapters in my career. And a part of that, I have private clients, and that's always nice to get to know new businesses that I can give some good consultation and advice and accompany in major steps that their company is doing.
So interesting to see how your journey progressed to news. And so when you're somebody that shows up and you're supposed to portray the current events of the world through the eyes of a storyteller, you're going to have to choose how to frame it. Can you speak to the intentions that you have, the goals that you hold close to your heart, that guide you to when you're reporting and sharing information that people are going to be making real life decisions based on?
Yes, I think before framing, the thing that I put most attention to personally, and also as my NBC guidelines go by, is fact checking. We put a lot of energy, time, and attention to making sure that what we report and what we publish online and on TV is as accurate we can. And I think that's the most important guideline that I came with to my work at NBC and got very reinforced in it. So I think fact checking is the most important that I can advise for anyone that's putting out content or messaging that can really change lives. So I think that's it.
Considering how important fact-checking is for providing factual media content to the global viewership, how can we understand the kinds of messages that have been sent to us from ancient times that have come through the channels of religion, faith, spiritual texts, with a special focus on the Jewish texts of the Torah? Some recognize it or call it the Old Testament. We refer to it as the five books of Moses. And I feel like there are a lot of interesting messages in there that have guided all of humanity for such a long time, thousands of years. Yarden, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how we can continue to bridge this ancient wisdom with modern practices to optimize the engagement of people with ancient wisdom and also give them opportunities to apply it in their day-to-day life.
I see. First of all, I think the Torah, the five books, is the most fascinating story that mankind ever knew. And it's like with endless chapters that could provide Netflix, Hulu, Disney all over, like piles of content with drama and romances and wisdom and suspense. And I think even in some parts comedy. Like if you dive deep into the Torah, you can find a joke or two. And first of all, I think the way we read the Torah or study the Torah along our years affects in a way the way we absorb the messaging. And I myself, the most I got of Torah studies was like in elementary, in public school. And since then, I don't think I ever picked a Torah book again. And that's mostly because of accessibility issues, because these days I don't read other books as well, like in hard copy. I read them like on some apps, or I get chapters of them in audiobooks. So I think as media channels and storytelling evolved along the years, so this ancient, very interesting, and wisdom holding text, which is the Torah, is expected to like go cross platform as well. And if we manage to make it accessible to people in ways that like on my way to my next meeting, I can catch up with a chapter or two from the five books. So probably I will get that amazing content, which I would not pick up a Torah book and like sit in my living room and read. So because it's not in my habits today. If I want to watch some content, so I do it on my social media apps, or I do it on my favorite streaming platform, or I listen to podcasts. I myself, there are people that do like read hard copy books, and then I think it differs if they would choose to read chapters out of the five books or not. And also, I think there is some kind of a language gap between the ancient texts as they were written in the five books and in the Torah, and the texts and rhetorics and storytelling that we're used to today. So once we can bridge the gap on the accessibility of the texts and like update the language in a way, so we can make it much more interesting for audience these days. And I think it can be captivating for children and adolescents, and of course, young adults and further on.
Wow, you had my mind spinning because I just had this idea that you could um, imagine like an AI application that uses like input the information on what's happening around you, and then it tells you the most similar biblical narrative that you can use as like a reference.
Amazing.
Like you said, it covers so many different areas of life. Like I remember reading one Jewish commentary that said that there's like only really 20 core personality traits in any person. And we just have different amounts of these 20 quotients, like anger, happiness, joy, creativity, wisdom. I don't remember all of them, but the point is that like we don't have to when we look at ourselves, we don't as human beings, we're not necessarily that divergent one from the other. Therefore, the storytelling that binds us to the five books seems to be able to cross-platform. Like it should be able to make the jump. Since, like, would you say that modern technology, like the media world that we live in, was in a certain sense spawned by the five books? No way.
Excuse me, if you could
Like
repeat at
maybe it
the end.
was, maybe like the five books, maybe the Torah, that ancient wisdom actually is one of the catalysts for how the current scenario in social media is. Like the way that we consume content and our interests, the kind of stories that compel viewers. Do you think that there's a connection between what people are looking for now and what the Torah was catering towards and giving people throughout history?
I think that given that you were exposed to stories delivered in the Torah or the five books, then it probably shaped how you understand stories. Because I think that there's one thing that's prominent in storytelling in the Torah is that there is always like there's mostly a creative hook. There's like always some kind of cliffhanger in the different stories told in the Torah, and I think that's something that we learned to enjoy in stories, the way that we consume content or stories today. So I think that's something that like stayed with us from that ancient text, and of course a lot of elements like cultural and religious elements, and that's like goes without saying. That's not our topic, but like it goes without saying that the Torah created religious connections for the Jewish people and traditions and folklore that our people go with. So I think all of that, and in some way, like it's kind of the first stories that we read and we got to know, like as an elementary school student. So our five books class or our Torah class was actually hearing lots of great stories about love affairs. There's lots of romance in the Torah. There's lots of love stories, some good, some bad, some very tragic in the Torah, with great drama along the Torah, and like battle affairs and great wars. Like it's really, I think, an endless book of great stories.
So storytelling doesn't seem to be some kind of a modern invention. It's funny. Like I would have thought that. Do you think that storytellers today are significantly improved over the storytellers of the ancient world?
If we're actually more skilled as we have better tools. The basic skills of storytelling that are based on the fact that I can run a good conversation with you right now. So, like my basic skills, I think they were available in ancient times as well, but our storytelling tools evolved dramatically, and that's like the use of images, video, sound, the availability of editing in such a simple way that I can edit my own content in seconds. Like if a few years ago I would go to a video editor and I would pay more money, and like we would have to get a studio and stuff like that. So now I can do it on my phone by myself and edit my storytelling and make myself a better storyteller with editing. So I think that's the main difference, that we now have more tools that can improve our storytelling.
Amazing. I would like to speculate with you on some kind of like a closing thought on just a question in my mind. There isn't like a clear answer, but I'd like to speculate with you. Do you think that it would have been better for God to wait for man to invent modern technology and then give us the Torah? Or was it better for God to just give it to us in the desert at the point when technology was so much in its infancy, even though the capabilities for storytelling, our mediums for storytelling, were so limited in those days that it was presented on tablets, as opposed to nowadays nobody even reads tablets anymore. It's interesting. So do you think that the medium that was chosen for giving over the Torah is something that is so significant that it would have been worthwhile to wait to give over all this wisdom at a point when the technology able to express it in a more robust fashion?
I think it could be interesting to live in a world in which the Torah or the five books would have appeared in our lives in the digital age. But I think that in the digital age, there is so much content to compete with that it would have to, that the Torah and the five books would have to like jump more hoops to attract attention. Because not because it's not a fascinating enough story or it's not good enough, but because there's so much. And I think, in a way, the fact that we were exposed to the Torah since, like it's me and you were about the age that we know days without smartphones and without digital media as well. But if I take a look at my younger sister, which is we have a big gap. She's like 12 years younger than me. She actually doesn't remember an era in which everything is not like online. She knows online since the day she was born, approximately. Or whenever she started to go on the media, everything was online and there was applications and stuff like that. I think the fact that we were exposed to the Torah in an age in which the medium was basically text, black and white books, stuff like that, created a more significant impact on us. And like when we first connected towards this conversation, so I was fascinated with what you do, and I found it interesting because I have some kind of relation to the Torah, the five books, the stories that it holds within, like spiritual connections, and also like I studied it for a while, so it means something to me. I think that it will mean something to younger generations, and of course, like decades and decades of generations to follow, if we can make it more accessible. And that's why I think what you're doing is so amazing, because it's like it's making these stories more accessible for wider audiences and languages and stuff like, the sky's the limit. So
Well, Dan, thank you so much for your time and opening up our minds to how storytelling is at the epicenter of everything in our lives that we are consuming, like with our senses, like your eyes, your ears, your podcast, your video feed, your social media, just we've got so much stimulation right now in our lives and it's hitting us and it's a lot of it's curated. Like if you're getting hit with viral content, it's like really top quality stuff sometimes, or it's been fashioned in such a way that it's going to go viral. And it's now you have an insight into the minds of the creators. And so when you're consuming this media content, you could think about the message or the intention of the content creator in a more meaningful fashion, and as a result of that, derive more value out of the story that's being told. There's a strong connection between the storyteller and the story. We also learned that the way that the storyteller gives the story matters. So not just what you say or what you're giving over for the other person, but also the way that you say it, the way that you do it, whole self involved in the process of the storytelling. And then along the way, it seems you'll find the right approach with practice. You have some natural talent, but you'll practice and you'll get better at storytelling. And eventually you could get recognition for your abilities if you follow Yarden's formula. If you're interested in connecting with her for any further contact related to her consulting or any other inquiries, feel free to reach out to me. We'll be sharing information. Thank you so much for your time, Yarden. Have a great
thank
day.
you, Danielle. I had a great time. It was a very interesting conversation. I hope it will be helpful for whoever listened to us today, and especially excited for any reaching out. So feel free.
Thank you. All right. We'll be in touch.